my opinion, today we're taking a look at the future PFL welterweight champion, the undefeated Russian of 18 fights who just defeated a -160 favorite with an amazing knockout of fellow Russian Murad Ramazonov. Shamil Musaev has a perfect mix of TKO wins and dominant decisions, and has rarely but still had tests throughout his regional career. Today we're taking a look at the highlights of the silent assassin, Shamil Musaev.
Oh, Till's out! It's over!
It's over! It's over!
That's what I'm saying, boy! Oh! He got dropped!
It's over! It's over! Munoz!
Oh my God!
Shamil competed in amateur tournaments that coincided with his years as a professional. Debuting as a professional all the way back in 2013, the now 30-year-old Musaev has been competing in competitive mixed martial arts for over 10 years. From 2013 to 2016, Musaev competed 14 times in competitive MMA. In amateur bouts competing in tournaments, he went 4-1 while going a perfect 9-0 as a professional. His only loss in MMA came in an amateur Russian Cup back in 2014. After this run, in 2017, he determined it was time to turn professional full-time. He'd fight in M1 for that early part of his career, then in a pair of regional Russian organizations in Fight Nights Global and GTC, before finding a home in probably the highest level of European MMA in KSW. The opponents up until his debut for KSW for his 12th professional fight were a little lackluster, with opponents' records really not being better than 1-0 or more losses than wins. But nonetheless, in KSW, he would get real tests. But even this jump in competition didn't have much of an adverse impact on Shamil Musaev's results. He'd finished back-to-back opponents in the first round, and the two opponents had a combined record of 17 wins and 5 losses. He was actually scheduled to compete against the UFC lightweight Mateusz Gamrot back in 2020, but Musaev suffered a knee injury that kept him out of competition for the entirety of that year. He'd return for a pair of his most competitive fights in his career. In 2021, he'd take on Uros Jurisic in a fight that needed all 3 rounds, with both fighters showing the full range of their skill sets, with Shamil showing off both his exceptional wrestling and his stand-up diversity. One of his key weapons that Shamil has had accompany him throughout his entire career is his spinning body kick, and in this contest, he landed it with ferocity. Shamil Musaev, with a combination of the grappling and stand-up, took the decision nod, but the fire between both fighters would continue, with an incident after the fight and a brawl breaking out. Musaev would actually draw his next fight, and it would be his final time competing for KSW. He'd scout the landscape of MMA, and after finishing one more opponent, he would make the decision to join the PFL, and he'd get his first fight in the US. Unknown to common MMA fans and matching up with a former Bellator interim welterweight champion in Logan Storley, he'd enter the fight as an underdog, and if you follow Combat Sports Central, you knew he was a live underdog that you should have played money on. If he keeps this fight on the feet, he is going to win either by decision or finish the unfinished Logan Storley, in my opinion. I took Shamil Musaev at +180 with 0.68 units. And what do you know, he would go out there, finish his American opponent in the second round, getting 5 points for the tournament, but also announcing himself as a top contender to win the welterweight title. And then in an elite matchup, he'd have to take on a fellow undefeated Russian who had finished his first PFL opponent in the first round and had a style built from Russian regional MMA and 1SC, which was dominant wrestling in Murad Ramazonov. However, Shamil, again, as an underdog, would get another second-round finish, cementing himself in first place, going to the playoffs with 10 points, and also being probably the top contender to win it all, even with fighters like Magomed Umalatov in the welterweight rankings. Let me know if I'm crazy to think Shamil Musaev should be the favorite to win the welterweight title in the comment section below. Do you think that he has the potential to beat those welterweight contenders that are circling? Murad Ramazonov, he has to go through again. Magomed Umalatov, Don Mage. There's a lot of good fighters in the PFL welterweight division. That'll do it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed, remember to smash that like button and subscribe to Combat Sports Central, and I will see you in the next one.